My name is Edward Thomas. I'm 70 years old, born in Dallas, Texas. Did a lot of traveling around in the city of Dallas and Texas and Fort Worth, and grew up in a pretty proud family, middle class family. Mother and father was divorced in '69. I was a toddler when the situation came for them to, what caused them to divorce was that my father, he was alcoholic. And he come in 3:00 one morning, and I remember my mother holding me. And she walked up on him and asked him where had he been and had he paid the rent. And he turned around and backhand slapped her. And she dropped me in the process of it. And so the next thing I know, she was moving out, leaving him. And we was in the west side of Dallas at that time. And she moved from the west side to the east side. And that's where my childhood began. And so went to school there. I had a pretty good childhood. My mother, she did private in-home work for, people, rich peoples. And she did the best she could on raising 5 siblings. Went to GUC Frazier High School there. And I remember getting my first bike, man. I think I was around 10 years old. And we used to get these big catalogs, around Christmas time. And all the kids would gather around and, we go through the catalog and, say what we want, tell our mothers and fathers what we want, stuff like that. And so I seen this bike. It was a Texas Ranger bike. And it was red and it was beautiful. And so I told my mother that I wanted that. And she, first thing come to my mind, boy, I can't afford that kind of stuff. It costs $29, $29.99. I never forget that. But so my father came over that holiday. One thing he always done, he was really trying to get back together with my mother, but my mother didn't take him back. She told him, I remember her telling him, if you ever put your hands on me, you can forget about me. And so he, down the line, came over all the holidays and in between, trying to get my mother to come back to him and stuff. And he had a business. It was a motel that he owned called Ross Avenue Motel. And so he come over, he had candy and stuff that Christmas, and they sent me upstairs, did the whole Christmas thing, go upstairs and go to sleep. And 12 o'clock came, my daddy hollered, come downstairs, hurry up, Santa Claus down here. So I run downstairs and I look, ain't no Santa Claus. His boot, he got boot prints like, Santa Claus done walked out the back door because at that time it was really cold. But he rolled this big old bike up in there, my bicycle. I said, oh man, I was so happy, man. And that was one of the cheerful times of my life at my youngest age. During junior high school, I played a lot of sports, basketball, football, I ran track, high jump. I did just about everything. And had a pretty good life until I got to the 10th grade. When I got to the 10th grade, I ran into the wrong crowd. And we started drinking and, when we go up in the classrooms drunk, the teacher wouldn't say nothing, act the fool, we get put out and stuff. And so coming through my high school years and things, we started burglarizing, breaking in houses and stuff like that. And so finally I got busted. I went to jail, got put on probation, and got out and repeated the same thing, started back hanging with the same crowd. And they would break into houses and warehouses and things to support their habits. And I was, right there with them, And so, I finally caught another case and got sent to prison, and did 2 years at a unit called Cofield and got out, met a young lady, and she was 3 years older than me, and she really cared about me, man. I mean, she really loved me. And I was the type of person at that age, man, in my 20s and 30s, I wasn't really ready for no serious relationship. But she was, and I moved out of her house. I moved back with my mother. That's what we used to call her back in the game, T lady, T Jones. But and got me a job, and I was working at a place called Safeway Bakery. And at that time, that was a good job because the bakery paid good, it had good benefits and everything. Got me a little car, and things was going pretty good, you know? And so as life went on and I got older, between 30 and 40, my mother got sick. And I had moved out from my mother and moved in with my father. And because my mother was getting disability and she couldn't have a grown person staying with her. I'm grown, I'm strung out on drugs and things, and I'm still staying with my mother, you know. Lost my job and stuff. And so I moved in with my dad. And I kept calling my mother's phone and never got an answer. I called at her for 3 days, man, and never got an answer. So I finally called the office and sent the security guard around there, and they found her in there on the floor. And so, you know, that kind of puzzled my mind a little bit, you know. So crack came out. I started smoking crack, and I started back going into warehouses, and I got a 15-year sentence. Make a long story short, I got a 15-year sentence. So now I'm in prison, and for 15 years, my dad called me. My dad is, at that time, 86 years old, and my mother was 70. And so I just got off from work one day and took me a shower. I was laying back in my cubicle, and one of the boss ladies came up there and said, you need to go to the chaplain's office. So when she said that, it was just like something that came over me that I knew wasn't right. You know, why am I going to the chaplain's office unless somebody, you know, that passed in my family? So I went to the chaplain's office, and he called me in there. He said, Mr. Thomas, I got some bad news. Your mother just passed, you know. And so here I am in prison. My mother done passed away. I ain't been in there a good 4 years. And so they told me, we can let you go to her funeral, but if you go to her funeral, we're going to have to shackle you down. And I don't think that's a good idea for you to be walking around in shackles and, you know, at your mother's funeral. So I missed my mother's funeral, and that was in 74. 76, my dad passed. And they say, well, we're going to let you go to your father's funeral. And but we got to shackle you down. So they took me to my dad's funeral. You know, I got to, you know, pay my last respects to him and stuff. And so I came up for parole. They set me out. And this was in 97. My oldest brother passed away with TB. And so I didn't get to go to his funeral. And my parole come up once again, and they let me make it. So I got out. I stayed with my sister for a while, and my other 2 brothers were staying there with her. So it's like 4 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. You know, he's sleeping on this couch, I'm sleeping on this couch, my sister sleeping in her bed, and my other brother, he works through the night. So we up in the day, and he sleeps on the couch. And so I finally moved out. I moved out and moved into a facility called life foundation. And so I stayed there for about, 5 months. And something just kept telling me to go see my sister. And my sister was the type of person, she was always healthy, you know. So when I went over there and looked at her, she was real poor. And I asked, I said, what's wrong with you? Oh, I forgot to mention, my dad died from colon cancer. And it ran through the family, you know. So my sister said, I got cancer, you know. I need you to stay here and take care of me. So I stayed with her and took care of her. And finally, I mean, she didn't even want to go to the hospital. You know, she would tell me if I should happen to die, I want to die in my apartment. And I said, man, why you want to die in your apartment? And, you know, I said, you need to go to the hospital. She said, okay. We went to the hospital. We went to Baylor Hospital. And some of the best doctors in the world come down there and looked at her and told her she got a blockage in her colon about the size of a stick pin, the head of a needle. And we can remove it. And she's been hearing these rumors about if they cut on you, the cancer gonna come back and spread and all that. And she didn't have the surgery. And so my other brother was staying there with us at the time. And I went to the store and come back. She had died. And they had took her body out and everything. So, you know, that was kind of sting to me. And then my brother that's next to me was staying there. Make the long story short, he died from colon cancer. I got all my whole family that died from colon cancer, right? By the time I, you know, realized what was happening, I had got strung back out on crack. You know, the pressure was too much for me. And the only relief I could think of was to get high. And so I started getting high. And I noticed that I started losing a whole lot of weight. So I went to the doctor. Lo and behold, the doctor told me, you got a blockage in your colon. They said, Miss Thomas, we located the blockage in your colon, you know. So they did surgery on me. They did a good job on me, you know. But dealing with the death of all of my family, it kind of just did something to my mind, you know. I mean, it's especially around the holidays. Around the holidays, I get lonely. Elizabeth and them do the best they can to try to comfort me, but it's nothing like your own family, you know. And then when you lose your whole entire family behind one disease like that, sometimes it make you want to just give up, really, you know, do something stupid, you know. But I stayed on my knees and I prayed about it, you know, and the good Lord has been taking care of me, you know.
Talk a little bit about the time leading up to you being in a homeless shelter, and then I understand that you still are staying down.
Yeah, I'm staying down there now. I've been homeless multiple times, you know, and it's times that I've had 3 or 4 apartments, and the majority of the apartments that they put me in, they be in an area where there's a lot of drug and gang members and stuff like that. And so this, I mean, it's been a problem for me. You know, I mean, being around drugs and being an addict is like pouring gasoline on the fire, you know? So trying to deal with that just was too overwhelming for me, man, you know? And it's caused me to be homeless, you know, multiple times. I'm gonna be honest with you. The whole time that I was put out of apartments, it was behind drugs, you know, my drug addiction. And I really got strung out on crack real bad. And that's what caused my homelessness, being homeless, you know. So, but the last time I got put out, it wasn't behind drugs. The last time I got put out, I was at the Austin Street shelter. They put me into an apartment that was waterlogged and mildew. And when I walked in the apartment, I said, didn't y'all inspect this apartment? And they said, yeah. I said, don't y'all smell that? They said, yeah, Miss Thomas, we're going to take care of that, but we just want to get you in here and, get you situated. We're going to take care of that. So the whole time I was in there, they would send a maintenance man out, and they sent me to the apartment up on a program called the Rapid Rehousing. Rapid Rehousing pay for your rent for 1 year, and then you take over, save your money, and then you start paying rent on your own. And that was, I had saved money and everything, had money saved up, still got a little money saved up, but they would send a maintenance man over there, and I would come in, and the maintenance man never was there when I was there. But he would come in there, and the smell would go away for a couple of 3 days, then he'd come right back, And at night, like when I'd be watching TV, me and my girlfriend be watching TV, we would go in there and cut the light on, and roaches would be everywhere. These roaches, you think they have a human mind, And in the daytime, they'd be all in my microwave and the ice box and the stove, I would have to keep my food, sealed up with foil paper and make sure my top's on there. They'd be all on the outside of my pots on the stove. But in the daytime, I don't see now roach. And that's been a mystery to me. Where's these roaches coming from and where's they going like that, But anyway, the year finally got up, and they never fixed that problem, and the odor was giving me headaches, And I would go up there and talk to the manager and tell him, man, y'all need to do something about this odor if y'all want me to continue to stay here. Because after that year was up, I would have to pay like $1,400 a month plus utilities for this apartment. And they never done it. So I went back to Austin Street.
What does a day look like for you? Typical day.
A typical day, man, is people is just arguing and fighting and cussing each other out and coming up and they got this particular place that they go to when they come out of the building, and they sit and get high. So, I haven't been high since September of last year. So being in that kind of environment is really depressing. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's depressing. And the only thing that's keeping my sanity there and keeping me from getting high is prayer, man. I do a lot of praying, and I believe in Jesus Christ. I try to do the right thing. I believe I'm a Christian, and I will go to heaven one day when I die. I believe that with all my heart. So staying at the Austin Street shelter is just something that you have to accept. You can't go down there and try to fix nothing. You got to expect the unexpected. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. Like I say, the only thing that I feel that I can really depend on and trust on is Jesus, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's by the will of the Lord that I'm still sitting up here with my sanity, behind that, because it was really mind-boggling to me, So I just stay in prayer, man, all through the day, all that night, I just pray, and use Human Impact. Human Impact is a good support group, man. If it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be here. During the time I had my surgery, it was always somebody at my side of my bed 24/7 from a Human Impact until I was able to eat solid food. It was always there for me. I feel like they support that they have for me is part of me still being here today, you know. So I think that, you know, that's how I deal with it. That's how I'm dealing with it.
That memory, that story that you told where your mother was holding you and your father struck her.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you think that had on your life? I mean, clearly you remember it. It's a long
Yeah,
time ago.
that was a long time ago. I mean, if I'm still remembering it, then that's the type of impact that it had on me. You know, it was scary. It was real scary, man, because I never known my dad to see him in that rage and you know, take it out on my mother, you know, put his hands on my mother like that. I was young. I knew what was happening, you know? So it was kind of frightening, you know?
What other organizations or people have you met in the last few years that have made a positive impact on your life?
I've met some pretty positive people down there. You got some very smart people down there that life has been torn apart by something or someone that's caused them to, you know, go astray in their life. The underlying issue is that person has got a mental problem. That person got a drug problem. And if you put that person in that apartment with that problem, it's not going to work, you know, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen because I am a drug addict. You're going to start having traffic coming in and out of there. There's going to be a bunch of fighting. There's going to be a bunch of shooting and stabbing and cussing. And, you know, the neighborhood is just not going to stand for it. You know what I'm saying? Well, I hope that they can come to some kind of agreement, man, to make a place where, I mean, all the tax money and stuff that they got, man, you know, if you can't build houses for them, you know, build rehab or something, you know, more rehabs, uh, more places like Austin Street, you know, because I like Austin Street. That's a good place, you know, and I take it for all it's worth. You know, I use Austin Street to the fullest. You know, I take advantage of the caseworkers down there. I try to keep my mind, you know, in a state where I'm humble. You got to humble yourself in a place like that. You know, I would suggest that they just use the money, man, the resources and the money and things to try to get help for the peoples on the street, you know, and find them a place that maybe they would want to, you know, at least try to give a chance to, you know, go through and try to figure out what's wrong with them, why they doing this, and just anything just to get them off the street, man.